Well, yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's a WNR560. It's the 10th anniversary show. It's unbelievable that we have got to 10 years. And look at what happened to me. I can't believe it myself. Suddenly I'm up on top of the world. I guess it should have been somebody else. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me. But luckily, I'm not alone. Of a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show. It's a fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Hello, hello. Happy 10 years, James. Happy 10 years. Things are going well. We're having fun. I can't believe it's been this long. How long have I been with you? Because I keep fluctuating. I keep thinking it's either 5 or 6. What is it?
Well, I don't want to give away anything, but we are going to do a quiz later. All
Oh
right. So
God, well,
maybe,
I've already failed then. If I'm supposed to
maybe.
remember how long I've actually been on the WNR, I've failed because it's either 5 or 6. But congrats to you. Happy 10th anniversary, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, no, thank you. Like I said, you joined us about halfway through. And again, who would have
Yep.
thought when you did your first show that you would have
Mhm.
been here to see the 10th anniversary?
I know, and I can even remember where we first picked things up. I'm not going to give it away in case that actually comes up in a little bit, but I vaguely remember how we really kind of came together to start from a guest star on your podcast to now sort of like co-hosting with you. It's been an epic journey.
It really has been. I know we throw
Mhm.
shade, but you know what it means, and again, it's great to have you on board here.
Always.
But up next, our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod, it is Monty. How's it going, man?
Going great. Happy anniversary. I only got really one thing to say right now. And please don't, that don't mean we have to get two songs from you, right? You gonna sing again? Jeez.
Do you know what? I popped myself singing that opener. I've been waiting to sing that for 10 years. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I can tell. But yeah, congratulations. Happy to be here as always. Uh, I will say I'm not gonna guess anything or anything about it. My memory is usually shit. So we'll see how that goes today. But I also want to say this. Before you even asked me, no, did not think I would still be here for this anniversary because when you originally pitched this to me, you told me all about your ex partners and how those things fell apart, and I was like, yep, he's probably gonna piss me off, and this will only be for a couple months, maybe at best. And somehow you managed to still piss me off, but I'm still here. So maybe something wrong with me. I don't know. We'll figure all that out later. But yeah, happy anniversary, James.
It's one of my talents. And again, I know on the 15th anniversary, it'll be a whole new team because, like I said, you guys would have had enough of me. But hey, we've reached here. But last, but by no means least, there's a girl in this harbour town, and she works laying whiskey down. They say, Gina, fetch another round. She serves them whiskey and wine. They say, Gina, you're a fine girl. What a good wife you would be. Yeah, your eyes could still a sailor from the sea. They said, Gina, Gina, you're a fine girl. You're a fine girl. What a good wife. What a good wife you will be. But my life, my love, and my lady is the WNR podcast, you see. Do, 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 do. It is Gina. Happy anniversary.
Monty, don't be mad, okay? Because I didn't ask him to do a second song for me just for that reason. But hello, welcome to the 10 years. Thank you for my song, James. You know, I love the dedication every time you do that. So welcome. I don't think that I've earned the 10-year congratulations, but I'm gonna pass them all across to my trusty James.
Well, Gina, I don't want to let you know a little secret. You and I, it is the longest relationship I've been in, and I've never been happier. So I want to thank you for that, right?
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm a queen.
And of course, we are live on YouTube, and the hunt for 1,000 is nearly there. We are just 4 off 1,000 subscribers. So please, if you're listening to this and don't subscribe, do that. Leave a comment, and then I will personally message you, or one of the other three will, because obviously you'd rather have that than me. But hey, you dealt with me for 10 years. You're going to deal with me for a little more. And today, we're going to do AEW, WWE, New Japan, and TNA, and a lot of other stuff like the quiz as well. But let's finish WrestleMania week and the build up to Backlash, because we'd left it because it was a really long show last week, of course, with WrestleMania review. But we had the press conference with Joe Test, Pete Roseberg, and Big E. Kathy Kelly couldn't get a word with Cody. He walked off with Brandy. What worried me about that was, where was the kid? Just left in the crowd? Cody, I know you lost, but come on, man, you're a monster. Press conference with Logan. He's just a tool. Either he's in character or he's just an arsehat. EO, she had a massive smile, and unlike yesterday's wrestler, she was still in her attire. She gave a comment in Japanese, which made sense. They should just do that. She said she was born for the moment, and she was over the moon pretty quick. Dirty Dom joined the panel. The crowd went wild. The crowd filing out the stadium actually made it a huge crowd. And he said he wouldn't be Ray. He wants to be Dom. He wore a Latina heat top, and he said he's celebrating with chicken. But what I think is quite important, Jaxie, and what Dom said, and I didn't really realise, he said he's carrying 2 legacies. And of course, not only just the Mysterio name, but he's taken after Eddie Guerrero. And of course, that means a lot to him personally.
Yeah, do you know what? When he did say that, I hadn't thought about it that way, but the moment he said carrying 2 legacies, I asked myself, who's the second legacy? And I instantly thought of Eddie, and that's what he means. Like you can um, uh, I think people naturally already associate Dom with both Eddie and Ray. Whether or not that really originated from like the feud of who gets custody over Dom, or what. Like I think Dom's legacy within like Eddie's sort of remit was always going to be like consistently labeled a thing. So I think it's been great to see, from the level of hate he's gotten, just to sort of like the hype that he's gotten since, and that epic journey that he's undertaken to not only, prove why he has the Mysterio name, but also prove that he doesn't need to always stand by his father's side to actually like get the crowd behind him one way or another. He's really solidifying that. Like everything about his heel turn emanated Eddie. Everything about Dom as a babyface emanates Ray. I think that he's got 2 really great strong points for either face or heel that he could just probably work and just always win the crowd over with.
Yeah, without a doubt. We saw Lyra with Lynch and Rue. There was a great skunk story, but I won't go into details. Becky says Lyra is the future. Lyra just sat there smiling politely. John Cena next. He said all were clickbait questions. He said he's ruining wrestling after that main event. Some people might agree with him. Triple H said the highest gross in blah, blah, blah. Great to have Becky Lynch back. Phenomenal night for her. Very happy for Lyra. Don't worry, guys. Bailey was just fine. A true pro. He said only got good things to say about her. Monty, again with Triple H, it's always normally normal stuff of how much money they did make. But Bailey was an interesting point because he said it's true pro. But with the Bailey interview that we heard, she just said a few other things as well, quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, she kind of talked about the downsides. And I don't know if we're going to talk about Cross's promo, but it's kind of linking into something he brought up too in that promo that went viral. That he gave over the week. After WrestleMania. So, uh, basically, like Triple H looking at her and saying, "Oh, she's a true pro," and we all know what that means. We know what what he's basically saying. Basically, whether it's good or bad, Bailey is going to do it either no questions asked or she's gonna make the best of it and try her best to make it work. And we know that they love that factor, but a lot of times they love that trait in a WWE superstar at WWE. But a lot of times, what happens is you have situations like what seemingly happened at WrestleMania, and situations happen where they get passed over and all of that, and then you get the Bailey interview, and it's kind of like the total opposite. Let's say, like, yes, she said yes, and she's fine with it being that pro. But obviously, based on the way she delivered it and how she kind of told Chris that she wished that she, sometimes she wished she said no more, basically, and all of that, and basically turned down some of these ideas and said, I'm Bailey. Like, why? What are you talking about? Why would I do that? I'm Bailey, and like sometimes you wish like as much like that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's Charlotte or whoever else you want to accuse in the past, Roman, not to the extent of Hogan, but a lot of top guys or bigger names have turned down. Cena has done it, turned down things that the boss or whatever have told him to do. And I'm not saying if you get too so big headed that you're never professional, but sometimes it's necessary to tell them like, no, I don't. We shouldn't do that, or I don't feel comfortable doing that, or whatever it is, because like I'm not, it's just you end up in situations like Bailey where
Mm.
you're always seemingly that person who kind of have to be selfless to make moments for somebody else. So even when you have your moments don't ever seem to last, and they never seem to be as big as they probably should be. And like that's the reason why she feel like a Charlotte or a Becky Lynch is so much more of a bigger deal than her. Probably is because they're willing to be like, no, I'm Becky Lynch. Like if you're gonna bring me to do something, then it better make sense. Or same thing with maybe a Charlotte or whoever else you want to throw in there, men or woman, like who are willing to have a backbone in them situations. They may not always get called such a pro or whatever, like Triple H said, but at the same time, they're also not getting kicked off the card a couple of days before man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, like you said,
it's a tough game. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you got to politic.
yeah, sometimes you're a rebel if you go against the grain, and like I said, you're just a pro or a good hand, And to talk about women's wrestling, China's Triple H said he will be in the Hall of Fame by herself, and he said Joe Hendry will have more Mania matches. Compares Travis Scott to Bad Bunny. Please just learn
Please
from
don't.
WCW. Just learn. It doesn't work. All right, it's not going to bring you what you think. Monty, as well, I'll ask you as well about the roast quickly, because again there was a lot going on with Tony Hinchcliffe. The jokes weren't funny. I saw a few lists, about
Yeah.
Nia Jax, mainly about Charlotte and Paul Heyman with a couple of barbs. I mean, what were your thoughts?
Hey man, it's the key to element of it is oftentimes he's just not funny. And a lot of these edgy comedians, so called, they get off or their fan base and people who really like them get off by towing that line of offensive versus what's funny, and they love to say, oh, it's just a joke to kind of play off the offensiveness or whatever. And to me, my biggest problem with a lot of the stuff is that some of the worst jokes to me were said and the people weren't present. Like that's the thing that that's really messed up. Like it was some jokes in there about Cody and other people where they're not present. Like at least I do believe Charlotte was there to hear the Nia joke stuff, so you can rationalize it as a roast. But I still think a lot of that stuff went under the belt. And don't get me started on what you could say about Nia Jax and then what people would tell you about yourself if you said that. So to me, I
Mm.
just think it's unnecessary. My thing is that it's just I don't get why we need to have a roast of WrestleMania. Like I don't understand why WWE has to partner up with people like Tony Hitchcock. He may be a wrestling fan. It may be through the Netflix deal or whatever, but every association, in my opinion, don't need to happen. And it's kind of going back to the Travis Scott point. Like Bad Bunny took time, and I know Travis Scott is trying to train or whatever to get in the ring, but Bad Bunny took time with his body. He looked way more believable. Like he really loved what you could tell he loved doing this, and I saw the value in doing it. But I also thought that a Bad Bunny match or a Bad Bunny situation could only happen a select few times and with certain type of people. WWE is really towing that line of doing a little too much celebrity association, in my opinion, and like it's just creating messes that we don't need. Like this is like we talked about. It. Why do you think we kind of continue into from on another podcast about WrestleMania? It was a lot to talk about, and for us to have to continue to add on to talk about this stuff because of the celebrity involvement, because of all of this. And it's a reason why Triple H works so hard to try to scrape all of the audio off the internet because they
Yeah.
know you. That's how you know you're doing something wrong. Why the hell are you working so hard to get rid of the audio? Why not record it? We know the type of suckers for content WWE is, but you don't want to record this. Why? Because you know you're saying offensive stuff about people of different races and people on your roster, and that's stuff I don't understand. I don't see the humor in making jokes about the people you employ just for the hell of it. And Triple H was there. Can't deny that. I saw the clip of him walk up on stage. So as much as people try to shirk responsibility of, oh, it's just a joke, it's just a roast and all that, you can't tell people what's offensive to them and how to feel about it. And that's basically where I stand on.
Mm. We moved to the Pat McAfee show, 21st of April, the guest with John Cena. He said he's going to ruin wrestling. He said he's exhausted and that he's at his sunset. And he admits to being a step slower. And he said he doesn't need another paycheck. Once he's done, he's done. He did admit to having a hair transplant and he blamed the fans for that, which I think, is fair enough. And he says Dom will be the most famous Mysterio. Paul Heyman was there. I mean, if the roast wasn't enough for Paul, he went off. He said, be unlike your daughter and keep your mouth shut. Who's a smart ass? You're the one that's going to get deported and all that kind of stuff. Heyman then made references to Pat Smoke and Pot, Royal Cup, Stephen A. Smith, and made sure to drop a mention that W Wrestling CM Punk does as much good to my reputation as Shannon Sharp does to ESPN. He mentioned Vince and called Cole a J.R. Lackey. And Gina, this is something that we did start talking about maybe before we recorded this, but with Heyman, it just seems like there's a lot of ego going at the moment. He just doesn't care what he says,
What, Paul Heyman?
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever really cared, to be honest. He's always said his opinion, even when it came to Brock Lesnar and him representing him. Same with CM Punk. He was unapologetic with him. I think he was more cautious with the tribal chief, but more to give that sort of respect to the tribal chief and the culture that he was bringing. But I think he's gone back to unapologetically himself in a way. This is how I see Paul Heyman.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they spoke about the new WWE doc, which looks behind the curtain. I mean, that looks quite good, actually. Storyline wise, he said he was betrayed by his best friend and tribal chief. We had the WrestleMania wrap up with Megan and Sam with Dirty Dom. He said he's got no problems with Finn. He feels pretty fucking good. He wants some motherfucking chicken. And on what he did after winning the Intercontinental title, I did one long glance and out of the corner of my eye, I saw my mum. And the only thing I did was shove the title directly in her face because I'm pretty sure none of them thought I could do it either. No matter what happens in kayfabe, we've still got Dirty Dom. Quick interview with Becky and Lyra. Lyra spoke as much as she did at the press conference. And then Karrion Kross. He said, a soldier ain't shit. Everybody's been telling me I've got to become undeniable. He said, as soon as that happens, they ignore it and they shut it down. I never asked to wrestle Randy. Nothing against Hendry either. And the crowd, you saw what they were like on SmackDown. You ignored me. You want a viral moment on behalf of true fans, professional wrestling, guys with a suit and tie in the truck. Go fuck yourself. That's from Killer Cross. I mean, Jaxie, wow, man. Like Monty said, it wasn't enough to deal with. Then Karrion Kross drops his pipe bomb.
Yeah, but you could feel like the truth that was coming out of everything that he was saying. And to be honest, like any like sort of regular fan of any content of wrestling can understand the frustrations within the locker room when creative are not utilizing what they do have and using it in the correct way. And if anything, Karrion Kross just confirmed that for us, It's a bit of a shame, if I'm truly honest, because I think when I think back to the character like he built on NXT, compared to all of the ups and downs that he's had and been made to endure on the main roster, you can understand all of that underlying frustration of him really just airing this out. And it's like, it's a little bit double standards when like this is exactly what Punk did, with his pipe bomb. It seems like that is being heard much more right now than the message that Karrion Kross is bringing. But I don't think he's wrong, you got to kind of like think, how many other wrestlers across different promotions feel like that.
Yeah, well, and it's funny as well to talk about, doing 10 years on a podcast. There's not been podcasts that we haven't done with wrestlers who've been frustrated. And just because someone else, or I say
Yeah.
Triple H is in charge and it's no longer, a McMahon, doesn't mean that they
Especially,
haven't got
especially like
favorites,
especially like regular frustration, like as you just said, with new management coming into play, you you kind of imagined or you figured that means that, like, backstage morale would be at a all-time high this way. But it just seems like it's slowly but surely, kind of getting worse, I would say. Especially with other news that we've yet to talk about. At this moment in time, it just kind of leaves you questioning, okay, well, what else is being discussed right now? Because it feels like you're throwing everyone curveballs, not only your staff, but your fans as well.
Yeah, around there. Well, let's get into Raw after WrestleMania. Now, those were fireworks, I should say. Crowd actually chanted, "We are sorry." And Cena called the crowd sorry low life. He said the crowd means nothing to him. So they changed to an arsehole chant. He's preparing to finish his speech when Randy Orton appeared, hitting RKO out of nowhere, much to the crowd's delight. Monty, what were your thoughts? Because, again, I thought this was quite good to show us where we're going post WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea when it comes to going right to Randy. I mean, it's gonna hit people. I do find it funny. I'm going ahead and say it. I know a lot of Cena and Orton fans didn't like me when I tweeted this, but the point still stands to me. I love how we've forgotten just how not good this rivalry actually was for a lot of the matches. Like they had their moments, don't get me wrong, but we also got fed Randy Orton versus John Cena continuously between 2007 and 2014. Had to be over almost 100 times. It had to be. It had to be, if not over, it had to be around in that range. So when you get fed something so many times, it's not really the worker's fault, especially when John Cena was always babyface. But at least in this one, we get to see, what it looks like on the opposite end of the spectrum with Cena playing the bad guy and Orton being the good guy. So I'm very interested in how that looks and how that feels. I also want to say Las Vegas, wipe your mouth. I could not believe they were apologizing to John Cena and all that. Just like again, I was already turned off by the match.
Oh,
And
God, yeah.
I'm not saying you can't have fun with the whole storyline or whatever with Cena. I get it, he's going away, but like, come on, man. Like seriously, like everybody, Cody don't have to be everybody's cup of tea, but for Cena to literally do whatever he can to try to get you guys to hate him, and then you guys are just apologizing to him and all of that. It was just like, I couldn't wait for them to get out of Vegas. But the RKO spot and, like I said, setting up that feud, I thought was a great idea.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't want to get too excited, and I don't want to make this about the podcast, but I've just checked, and we're on 998. So just two more people. If you're listening to this, just subscribe. Come on, I will love you forever. But it's not about that. It's about everything. And great point, Monty, I should say. We're on to the tag title matchups for Carol and Liv versus Lynch and Lyra. Morgan ended up hitting a finisher on Lyra after Becky was taken out ringside. Liv got the pin, regained the tag titles. The man looked shocked and then attacked Lyra and blamed her for a loss for storming off. So it looks like Becky will be chasing the women's Intercontinental title soon. Gina, what were your thoughts? Because I know you weren't happy at WrestleMania, but 24 hours later, it's back to normal.
Oh my gosh. Like I don't know what to say about this because I'm bitter. I will admit that I'm bitter because of I went with Liv and Raquel to retain. So I am bitter that not only did you make them lose when I didn't think it made sense to let them lose to this newly formed tag team of Becky and Lyra, but you lost to just get them back 24 hours later. I really don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why they would do this. Obviously, they're like, oh, we want Becky to have her heel turn. Well, I don't know. For me, it didn't work because even Becky's heel turn was lackluster. Like she pushed Lyra, or well, she kind of hit her, kind of pushed her, and then just stood over her and was shouting and pointing her finger in her face. Then got out the ring, then came back in, decided to hit her again. Clearly, she was like, shit, maybe I should make this look a little bit more believable and punch her again. Usually when someone does a heel turn, they do the most that they can to cement that heel turn, as if to say, I'm gonna bash you in the head with a chair. I'm gonna give you a hug, let you turn around, and then do the worst clothesline on you possible where you didn't see it coming. Lyra got like half pushed, half hit, a finger in her face, and then after Becky rolled out a couple of times and decided to come back in, she hit her a couple more times. It just all fell flat to me. Liv and Raquel losing to get it in 24 hours, then Becky's heel turn. For me, it just felt flat, and I was kind of more annoyed at just how it was done rather than the actual thing happening itself. I have no problems with Becky turning heel. It's absolutely fine. I kind of think I like heel Becky a lot more than face Becky. So I'm not mad at her turning heel. But the way they did it, it felt messy to me. And it just felt like they didn't really know what to do. So they were like, okay, you're just going to go out, lose your belts tonight. And then Becky, do something to just turn on Lyra because you're angry at her. That's literally
Yeah.
how it felt. So
Also, like again, like what have you done to solidify like the realness of the women's intercontinental championship? You've done absolutely nothing to really solidify Lyra's run as the current champion at the moment. If anything, you've made her look stupid and weak and naive as a current champion. Also, then like probably having one of the quickest two-time championship reign in history. It just made for no sense whatsoever. Again, I think we'll go further on down the line to talk about this, but I feel like Lyra was not the best wrestler to place as the first ever intercontinental champion, because I kind of have forgotten all about her reign in that, and all of a sudden everyone's just talking about, her very lackluster tag title run. Like I feel like there was definitely a certain someone who much more deserved like to be the first ever title holder in this regard. And we'll talk about this going further later, but like, I feel like much more would have been done. Right now, as you just said, with this whole like Becky situation that she's now got herself mixed up in, she kind of looks weak for trusting Becky, especially after the promo she gives about saying everyone, including Bailey, warned me not to trust you. So you're dumb then. You're stupid then. Like again, like I just don't know how this was what in what right mind creative looked at this storyline and this booking and thought, yeah, this will be good for our women's intercontinental champion. It's
I,
just baffling.
I was thinking, why didn't Tatum help Lyra at ringside? I mean, they've got history, but
I mean, yeah, there's that too, isn't there?
but this was better than their Mania match, so a little bit of positive there. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods came out to celebrate winning the titles and were interrupted by Otis and Cesaro, who was then interrupted by returning Rusev, and he absolutely destroyed them. The crowd chanting Rusev Day as Otis passed out. I mean, Monty, Rusev, I mean, we discussed this. I think we have maybe just in chats, but again, it's like, it's good to see Rusev back, but I'm just not sure where he fits at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. I like Rusev a lot. I think this first appearance kind of had people not sure like where even WWE think about him right at this point. But the promo that happened the next week, where he kind of explained that he's here to kind of redeem, as he used that word, and so he's letting you know right there that he's not Rusev Day. He's not. He said he's not fighting for no flag. He's not fighting for Lana. Not fighting for no woman. So he says he's here to redeem the people who are lost like him. So that actually explained why he chose Otis and Tozawa, because he think they're in a goofy gimmick basically, and they need to be wrestling, taking wrestling seriously like he does. And so I kind of like that as a start anyway. But it just depends on how they continue to depict him. I can see a dominant run for him going forward. But like you say, the thing is, like, you don't really know where he fit. I think he'll be fine because we right now with Bronson Reed out and all of that, Raw is kind of lacking like I'm not saying he's like a Jacob Fatu, but I kind of can see him as being Raw's version of an unstoppable monster right now. And maybe I'm looking a little bit too highly at Rusev at this stage of his career. But I think if presented right and he's able to give promos like he did when he was in AEW, and hopefully they do allow him to do his thing similar to that run, I think that this can be a good run for him. But right now, it's way too early to tell. I don't want to get too excited, but like, yeah, I don't. Right now, I think he'll be fine just because they have a decent foundation to start, and then, like I said, he got options. Like whether they choose to put him in a mid card title run at first, or eventually end up facing off with maybe Jey Uso or something. Who knows? So I don't know exactly where they, like you said, where he could be personally yet, just because it's only been a couple weeks. But I think he'll be fine. I really don't think it's a problem right now when it comes to fitting male talent in this current regime right now. They have a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong, but I do think it's actually a spot for a character like him right now. That fits.
Yeah, without a doubt. We then see Balor saying what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. EO said people will never forget her. Stephanie Vaquer showed up. This led to a match. This was awesome chance before the match started. Great contest was ruined by Roxanne Perez. Julia showed up and tapped both. Ripley made the save. Face off with Julia wasn't received on the Steph EO level, but sorry, Gina, this kind of shows you the direction of the women's division now. Like I said, these women from NXT who we know are ready to jump up on Rhea Ripley's level, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all of the women that were involved and kind of came up from the NXT just kind of showcased that they're on the same level as these ladies up here on the main rosters. It's so cool. Seeing Julia stare Rhea down was so cool. I had like a freak moment just seeing them both,
Mm.
but it was the exact same as when Stephanie and Io stared each other down, and that their match was awesome. It was so good. So I'm really excited to see the future of where these ladies are going to take women's wrestling for us going forward. But it was so good to see like the Julia stare off, and I really like Roxanne Perez. I think she's really small, but she's like a pocket rocket, isn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. And like I said, the crowd reaction, they've already accepted they're kind of on the main roster. Another person they've accepted, obviously, is Jay Uso. And I would say he's in a safer place with the fans than maybe even Cody is at this moment in time. Jay spoke, interrupted by Sami Zayn, and then Jimmy Uso joined the celebration. And we found out the following week that Logan Paul would be the next contender. I mean, Jaxie, they're playing with fire here, aren't they? But come on. And
Mhm.
again, I don't know why people are shitting over Jey Uso when it's fucking Logan Paul.
Exactly. I mean, to be honest, I because of Logan Paul's ego, I shouldn't be surprised that the moment someone like the General is dethroned and the hard work is done, he's looking to try and capitalize off that and then try and come in at the last minute acting like he deserves anything. You don't deserve shit, Logan. You actually don't deserve shit. Everyone else but you know that. Be fucking lucky that Jey Uso is even giving you the time of the day, and even entertaining you with the prospect of a match. But if he's gonna be up against anyone, I would rather see him up against Jey Uso for that belt because we know we ain't winning that. We know we ain't, and I'm gonna get great satisfaction knowing that Jey Uso kicked his ass and beat him. So hurry up and get it over and done with. Jay, do us all a favor and kick him multiple times in the face because none of us care.
Yeah, AJ and Cross had a confrontation. A return from a break to see Gunther yelling at Michael Cole. He shoved Pat McAfee, then grabbed Cole in a choke. McAfee fired off a shot to break it up. Gunther grabbed him and choked him out. And Monty, this is the match everybody wants. Gunther versus Pat McAfee at Backlash, because obviously the following week Pat wasn't having it and challenged Gunther to a match. I mean, some people are going to hate it, but I think this is going to work, crazily enough.
Yeah, I think it can work as from a live audience perspective or from the match perspective. I can see them making it work, but I definitely can see a lot of people not caring a whole lot about it at all. I like Pat's promo and all of that. I enjoyed that, and I like the segment where Gunther did attack Michael and Pat because it was different areas, different parts of the segment that was kind of cool to me, and then Michael Cole kind of you know being tough and going back to finish the show was funny too. It was very cool to see. I don't know what Michael thought was gonna happen because he did tell Gunther to his face, "You tapped out" or whatever. So I don't know what he thought Gunther's reaction to that would be. But it was definitely, in my opinion, a really good one, a good segment and good, well executed. It makes logical sense, but I knew immediately once they kind of went there with Pat that we was probably getting a match. And I mean, football season isn't quite yet here yet, but I think Pat is probably about to go away. So I can see this being a reasonable reason to watch him kind of get mauled, and then he go away for a while. But I don't know. I'm kind of on two minds. Like I said, I can see it working, but at the same time, I understand completely. As a matter of fact, the same thing with the Jey Uso Logan Paul stuff. I think Jay and Logan might be okay, but at the same time, I understand completely if you don't want to watch it at all because, again, I just think that I can see if you're looking at Gunther and be like he deserves so much better. But I kind of the thing with Jay is once I saw Logan Paul's press conference and the way he kept talking about being a full time wrestler and leaning into that, I definitely saw Logan Paul as the next opponent. Because I was like, who could they give Jay first? And I was like, somebody that's a heel. And the only person that came to my mind that I knew people would hate, and it was like, oh, Logan, right? They're gonna force Logan into this. But the problem is that the heat that Logan got, especially with a lot of fans who not paying tickets to the live show, a lot of people don't want to watch Logan in these spots at all. And that's my problem with the whole putting your world heavyweight champion in this situation, and even putting somebody like Gunther in these situations is you do run the risk, like you said, James, of like alienating certain people who just like because I've already heard it now. I've already seen the people saying backlash is gonna be bad just off the bat, just off those two matches announced right there. So like, and I'm not, I don't support that or not, but I understand the logic of it because some people don't want to watch Logan Paul wrestle at all. You got the people who don't like Jey Uso, which I disagree with, but they don't like him. And then you got the people who believe Gunther is way above working with a Pat McAfee. So I understand it, but I definitely can see Pat McAfee and Gunther making something happen and making it special. And my other problem, my last problem to say about Logan and Jay is every Logan feud is the same, and that's my problem. He comes out there, he insults the town, he brings up somebody's name or insult somebody. The person come out there, they accept the challenge or they insult them back. They knock him down that first week, or and then we trade bars. The match happens, and then we move on. Like every
Yeah.
feud is the same. It's nothing deeper than that when it comes to Logan Paul. So until they actually try to actually tell stories with Logan Paul instead of doing the same publicity stunt seeming set up a match for the pay per view type of angle for him, the reaction will always be the same, no matter how good in the ring he gets.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Like I said, and again, weirdly, Backlash is becoming more WrestleMania than WrestleMania is with like the kind of celebrity soul involvements as well in a weird way. JD McDonough returned to help Dirty Dom defend his newly won IC title versus Penta. And the final segment featured Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman coming to the ring to discuss what happened at WrestleMania. Before Rollins could say much, Punk's music hit and he came out looking for a fight. Punk beat down Rollins in the corner, then turned his attention to Heyman. The visionary took him down. Heyman said Rollins is now the top star in the entire industry. Reigns' music hit, and he came out looking just as angry as Punk was. The OTC nailed Rollins with a spear, then knocked Heyman down with a Superman punch. He lined up a spear, but ended up getting speared by Braun Breaker. Break it. Punk with one. Then he tried to get in the ring too. Rollins hugged Breaker to reveal what appears to be a new partnership. He then sent Reigns through the barricade with a spear, and the Raw after Mania ended with Rollins Breaker standing tall over Punk and Reigns. Gina, this is interesting. You know, like I said, new blood with Braun, and to see Reigns after Mania was quite interesting. Even though I think he's having time off now, but and the story's kind of been set. All in all, it's quite good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at it. And to be fair, I was quite shocked to see Roman so soon after it. But I think because yeah, he is looking to have a long time off. He's like, look, I'll just bash out like a few more weeks. Show myself on TV, get the hype up, and then go off. So I mean, I'm not mad at it. I know it's coming. It's gonna be sad though, for sure.
Yeah. Right, Pat McAfee again, and I promise this is the last time. The final boss on here, and yes, Pat had recovered enough, and this is what The Rock said about WrestleMania. He said, "I did feel," and he said, "I made a call. I don't want to be involved in that. Let the final boss step back into the shadows. Let all the spotlight go to John and Cody. Let's not make it about Cody's soul or John's soul. Let's let them do what they do, despite a very clear creative decision to make it about Rhodes selling his soul." Anyway, Rock claimed he wants to see Cody Rhodes heel turn at some point and develop the soul selling narrative as part of a larger story. He said they had 6 weeks to plan for it. He said, I love the finish of the match, but I would have finessed things a little differently, you know. But that's just me creatively. I mean, Jaxie, fuck you, final boss. You know what I mean? I've been
He just
thinking
shouldn't
about
have been
this.
involved.
It's just like, come
Like
on, man. He
that,
should have been
yeah.
there.
It was incredibly depleting to hear that. Like, what? You got your ass involved for no fucking reason at Elimination Chamber just to go, oh, that was my work done. Are you fucking serious? That's absolute bullshit. And being a full-time actor now, you should know what it's all about when it comes to storyline and pacing and all that shit. So this better be a work, and you just actually looking to piss everyone off, just like John Cena's doing. Like this better all be a work because of like that. How does that make sense? That makes no sense whatsoever.
No,
Like
it
it's
worries me.
bullshit. Yeah,
No,
makes no sense.
I think we all agree he should have been there to say, "Oh, do you
Yeah,
know what? You know, it's something else. It's just,
I'm still
yeah,
I'm still questioning why the fuck Travis Scott was the one coming out like him and fucking John Cena are best friends. Like since fucking when? Makes
yeah."
no sense why Travis Scott was out there and it wasn't The Rock.
Well, apparently, when Travis Scott did make his entrance, Pat did message The Rock and said, "You're coming out," and The Rock went, "No, I'm sitting at home." So this, you know, final boss was never getting involved. But again, why to do that at the chamber? Apparently, it's because of low ticket sales and stuff like that. He came to save the company, you know. Um, we had the Jey Uso vlog as well. I mean, just watch it. It's only 11 minutes long, but it's well worth it because if people getting on Jey Uso's back, it shows a different side to him here and how he kind of interacts with everybody. On to SmackDown, Cena started the show, followed by Orton. And when kids were mentioned, Cena said he doesn't have kids because he spent 25 years raising everyone else's. He made fun of a kid at ringside who flipped him off to prove his point. Randy hit an RKO. The match was made for Backlash. Again, we've mentioned it. Randy and Cena with Orton as a face is just so fucking weird. Fraxian made their debut in a match of the highest quality versus Berto and Garza. They followed it up by a match for Pretty Deadly. Monty, Fraxian are on the main roster. And if they're given time, they'll get over, won't they?
Yeah, no, and I like that they in the SmackDown tag division, even though the SmackDown tag division hasn't been booked greatly consistently, but like something that we were talking about that happened on this same show that they debuted on. If these are the teams that they could be working with, imagine what Fraction really can do. When you think about just how I think when you go between Raw and SmackDown, SmackDown is by far the better taken care of tag division at the moment. Even though I think both tag divisions need to be focused on more and done more with creatively. But yeah, man, I think honestly that this was awesome. It was cool to see them. I like we talked about on NXT update a couple of times. We wasn't necessarily sure how you know their we wasn't really sure how it would play out for them. Would they go up together? Would they turn on each other before? So it's kind of cool that because their run has been so legendary that they've been able to do this together and still be brought up to on the main roster to be a formidable tag team. So yeah, man, I think like you said, if given the consistent time and matches, that I think them and the Street Profits could be SummerSlam. But I don't know. But to be fair, it probably wouldn't make the card because Triple H has a beef with booking tag team title matches on these PLEs. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think Act Fraction was money, and I think they're in a good division where they can do stuff with DIY, do stuff with Motor City Machine Guns. Like you said, the next week they had Pretty Deadly, Berto and Angel, is a solid team. So again, who knows? They might even be around long enough to fight the Lucha Bros. So again, I can see all types of good uh things for them on if like you mentioned, if they're booked consistently and given time.
Yeah, without a doubt. Tiffany Stratton promo was interrupted by Jay Cargill, who wants next, leading to a surprising match, which was ruined by Naomi. Nia Jax showed up to attack Tiffy a few moments later. On the following week's SmackDown, it was the tag match with Jay Cargill powerbombing Nia Jax, which was just incredible. I mean, Gina, again, this is the direction we're going, and Jade has got those eyes on that championship. And, I like Tiffy, but Tiffy time's an idiot, man.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Jade showcasing her power lifting Nia. That's the match I definitely will be looking forward to, Jade versus Nia. They are indicating that Jade is going to gun for that big belt at some point, but I do think that they're still going to, have this little Nia feud and maybe like one other match against Naomi possibly before Jade fully is in that title picture. Whether it's going to be against Tiffany or somebody else who takes it from Tiffany, I don't know at this point. But if she does go against Tiffany, I'm sorry, I do like you, Tiffy, and I think you've been quite a popular champion, but you ain't beating Jade. You ain't beating Jade.
No, it's not happening. It is not happening. Jacob Fatu came out with Solo Sikoa after a break to celebrate his US title win over LA Knight. Surprisingly, Drew McIntyre came out. He said he obviously easily beat Damian Priest at WrestleMania. Complained about Orton jumping the line for the W title, rightly so. Knight versus McIntyre ending DQ with Priest attacking from behind. We'll get onto that on the next SmackDown. Big news, though, Zelina Vega beat Chelsea Green for the US title. I mean, Jaxie, I know you weren't happy with the women's Intercontinental, but the US title has not really fared that much better.
I mean, you know what? I really like Zelina Vega as a wrestler. I really do. But I don't think this was the right decision. I think that Chelsea was doing absolutely great work with the women's US belt. I do believe that Chelsea will get that belt back really soon. But I think, like, for a very first title run, Chelsea should have held on to it longer. She was doing such great work with it. I just wouldn't have had her lose it this quickly since getting it. So I can't hide my disappointment because I think the work Chelsea was doing was great. And it's not to say that I don't think Zelina Vega deserves it, but I think that Chelsea should have had a longer run before Zelina took it. That's all.
Yeah. And again, it's the thing of we felt Chelsea Green after the work she's done for the past year,
Yeah,
so the WrestleMania card, and Triple H is like, "Oh, you're
exactly.
not on the card, and you're losing your title."
Exactly. It's just like, how much more do they kind of want to slap specific moments in the face? And again, that's not to take away from Zelina's thunder. I really like for her to be the one to take it from Chelsea. I'm not mad at that at all. I actually love that idea. But later on down the line, I would have
Yeah.
had that done later on down the line. Like, had Chelsea really just continued to run up this whole idea that she is like, Miss US, and everything that she was doing, just really make that belt feel like, like credible in that way, and not to take away from Zelina, but having her win it via a roll up, again, it does nothing to solidify, like, how that belt should be taken.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm slightly disappointed by this because it just kind of feels like all of a sudden they're in creative are just in the mood for change and everything like that. And like, I hate to actually even like say that this question ran across my mind, but I just also couldn't help but wonder whether or not like she was given the belt this quickly because of a return of a certain husband as well. And again, I don't know if that like if there's any connection to that, because why would there be? But it's just like I don't understand the reason why there was such a need or a rush to have Chelsea lose her belt in this way, this quickly, immediately after WrestleMania.
I
Mm.
can
So
give you a
Uh,
storyline reason, and that's all I got.
okay, go for it, Monty. Tell
The
me,
only
entertain
way
me.
she ever won, the only way she's ever won any of her matches was because she had help. So when her help get kicked out, she loses. That's the lot. She's a lose. Like, look, think about Chelsea Green, and as great as she is as a character, she
Mm.
does not win. She talked
No,
about
that
that in her interview. She's not a winner. She likes losing. So that's my
yeah,
only
yeah,
excuse that I can give her is like in a fair fight, she's probably gonna lose. That's the
yeah,
only thing
yeah.
I can give you. That's the only
And
excuse
I
I
can
got.
get behind that, Monty. If she losing by a pinfall and not a roll up.
It was the cold red. That's her finisher.
Oh, was it? Oh, I thought it was the roll up that she did not. She
The
didn't.
cold
I
red is kind of a roll up in a sense, but yeah,
No, I
it's
no.
like
think
a
sis,
It
you're
was that.
getting confused because she rolled up Piper Niven the week after.
yeah.
Oh.
She
Okay.
That
rolled
was
Sorry.
up
My
what you're
fight.
bad.
thinking of.
My bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
beat Kelsey with her finish. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My bad. Let's disregard that thought then, because yeah, I'm definitely getting confused with the most recent episode of Raw we've watched.
yeah. We all get emotional. The Miz came out and complained about how nobody respects him or no one listens to him. I wasn't listening. Sorry. The lights went out and Aleister Black arrived. I'm sorry, but I used to do this back in his NXT, and this is what his entrance is. I loved it. I loved it. And then he came out rising like he did, straight from the floor. And the crowd chanted, "Welcome back," as Black stood and took off his jacket. He nailed the Miz with Black Mass without saying a word and sat in the ring as music began to play. In the following week, he beat up the Miz. I mean, again, quite a competitive match. And then Carmelo Hayes was the one facing him. And I think that's the feud. And Gina, again, it's good to see Aleister Black back in WWE. You just wonder, is this now the time for him to actually do something? Do you know what I mean by that? It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I am happy to see him back. I know that he's able to, work closer with his wife now as well, which I'm sure makes things easier for both of them. So I'm not mad at him being back on WWE TV. I'm also not mad at him coming back and, having this feud with The Miz, because to be honest, The Miz does make people look good, he does sell their moves and show fear when he needs to and things like that, and helps get them over. So I think it is like, it makes sense in terms of putting him in that sort of feud to come back to. I do hope that this is Aleister Black's time, because he was, mid-carder. I don't want to call him a jobber, but just main mid-carder, basically, when he was on WWE beforehand. And I really would love to see him in some kind of main title picture at some point. Not saying it has to be now or instantly when he comes back. Feel free to, get him in quite a few different feuds beforehand, and until there's time and ready for him to have a run at having the belt. But I really would love to see him push to that point, because I do think that he could be quite a mysterious champion and quite different to all the sort of champions we've had, because he's quite a mysterious character anyway. So I just think it'll give us a different feel to a different champ. But yeah, either way, I'm happy to see him back. I just hope he doesn't get relegated to what he was doing before he left WWE.
Without a doubt. And the week's main event is arguably kind of match that should have been a WrestleMania, but the SmackDown audience was treated to a triple threat TLC match between three of the top teams in WWE: Street Profits, Motor City Machine Guns, and DIY. And there was no commercials, and it felt long, but in a good way, Low. We saw some creative spots, especially when it comes to how the chairs were used. Ford even used the fan's prosthetic leg as a weapon at one point for a huge pop. Of course, all three moments had chances to win it, but it was Ford who took down the belts to claim victory. If anybody was wondering, Ciampa had to shave his beard because he needed stitches in his chin before the event, and Ciampa without beard looks weird, but that's not the point. Jaxie, what a TLC match this was on SmackDown.
That one Avengers movie where they're in the middle of an epic fight, they're getting their asses kicked, and then all of a sudden Wanda comes down, blocks everyone up within 2 seconds, and I think her name is Okoye, turns around and she's like, why was she up there the whole time? This is the type of question I want to ask as to why was this not on the WrestleMania match card? Like, this was exactly what you would expect to find. Like, why was this on a regular SmackDown? Like, this should have been on the week before on the WrestleMania match card. It was brilliant. I think all three teams did really well done. And as you said, it was a long match, but you didn't really think it was long whilst watching it. It was just like, if you looked away, you were missing some sort of epic move by one of the teams. I thought all three teams looked great. And to be honest, it was one of those ones where I was like, oh, I'm very gutted that they didn't get to do this on like a bigger stage like WrestleMania, because of how good the match actually was.
Yeah, no, like I said, it was excellent stuff. Really good way to round off WrestleMania week. And then we had WWE Hall of Famer Stone Cold Steve Austin. He confirmed reports that he turned down an offer for Logan Paul to appear in a Prime hydration bottle costume during WrestleMania 41. Said he turned down, like I said, $1 million for it. Looks like a good idea now, doesn't it? Because he said about the crash. He said it's a different throttle setup than what he's used to. You see, wasn't anything about the 4 days of drinking. You just, you want to go out there and give the best you can, and sometimes something like this happens. I mean, I think Monty, that's the closest we're going to get to an apology from Stone Cold. The throttle handle. You know what it's like with 4x4s and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's Austin. I don't think he, I don't think he has to apologize for anything. I know, I get it. I get what you're saying, and definitely, well, the drinking and all of that. But my thing is with Austin is, if you remember, back in the day in his prime, or even like towards the end of his run in '03, he always drove way too damn fast on the four wheelers, while being basically intoxicated. So, when you've been, I'm not going to really get on the man when they give him an opportunity to do something he was always kind of allowed to do. But yeah, man, I mean, I didn't really expect an apology. I'm surprised he even explained that, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I'm not. I get it. I get what you're saying, and I get why a lot of people had a lot to say about the moment and all that. And the thing about the Logan Paul stuff too that I really like about that is that Logan Paul offered up that information for nothing, and Austin didn't really want to talk about it. And that's what I kind of like that, because we live in this society now where everybody got to say something for clicks. Like, he turned it down. Why do we need to know? I get, maybe Logan was so shocked that everybody is not a zealot for dollars like the people he hang around or the people he
Mm,
know. But like Austin said, I don't know anything. I don't know what's in that drink. I don't. You know what I mean? I'm not going to promote
yeah.
something I don't support, and that's literally all I ask. But we've seen, especially during Mania week, we saw WWE do not really give a damn. They'll promote anything. So
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, they'll promote anything. If it gets more eyeballs, they'll promote it. So it is what it is. But I love Austin. I'm the wrong person to ask you, because Austin is just one of the greatest of all time to me in a lot of ways. But I don't know. I didn't really expect no apology. I'm sure he let Nick Khan do all the apologize. You saw Nick Khan work over
Yeah.
there.
He was like, "God damn, kids, got in my way. I was drinking. Jesus Christ, son." Anyway, anyway, final thoughts about WrestleMania week, because I can't believe how long it's actually taken to talk about WrestleMania week. I will think about how we do it next year. But it's weird. I thought
Too
last
much
year's
content, man.
WrestleMania. Yeah, I thought last year's WrestleMania was better. But I think this year's the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania was better. And I think we have a more clear pathway of how things will go this year. So take that how you will. The Nikki and Brie show. Yes, we're going to talk about that. Naomi talked health issues, wanting to have kids, possibly stepping away soon, and how it makes her current W run even more special to her. Says always wanted a kid. She's getting up there, 37, and she wants to have one soon. She's not the only one to talk about having kids. Of course, Rhea Ripley as well. And this brings kind of like a new problem to wrestling that we've not really had before, as in pregnancy in wrestling. And Gina, it's weird because, again, I think with Becky Lynch, maybe she was the one that broke the mold, hopefully, to be able to show you, yes, you can go away, have a child, and then come back. I know a lot of people saying, oh, you go into the same spot, but if you can protect that, then maybe that is what we're going to see from some other stars, maybe even like Bianca Belair and people like that as well.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely know that there are like, people like Jade is a mum, but she wasn't part of WWE when she got herself pregnant, went off and then had the kid, She's had her, I think her kid's like 8 or something like that, or might be even a bit older. Either way, we know that there are loads of sort of moms out there, but when you know that you want to still plan to have children, and women do have that biological clock ticking against them, they do have to take the time away so that their bodies can adapt, and then take time off before going back to any form of work, because your bodies have to readapt. It's a long break for the women of wrestling, and I can completely understand and sympathize for Naomi here, because right now she's at the peak of where she should be. We've wanted this for years for her, and we're now getting it. So I can imagine for her, it's really a frustrating choice at this point, because she is getting up there with her biological clock. She is thinking of that. She's also got a few health concerns that do need to be taken into consideration too. So right now might be the best time for her to go off and focus on that. But again, right now is the time that she is like at her peak and stuff. So it's a really tough choice for any female in any wrestling promotion to have to go through and think when is the right time, health wise for me, but also with where I am storyline wise. So yeah, I will fully support Naomi in any choice that she makes, but I will be gutted when she does look to take that time off for herself, because she's just awesome to watch right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. But I think, like I said, this will become something that we talk about a lot more because, again, back in the day, even maybe 10 years ago, when you look at it and you think about the kind of, the main roster talent and the split between men and women, and now the women, like we said, are just the bigger stars. And it's something that will have to be looked at and discussed, and something that we go into more detail at some other point. But we'll just have a look at Raw, see if I missed anything. Seth, Bron, and Heyman started the show. Seth's outfit cost 10 grand, and the episode was all about Sami Zayn. Would he accept Rollins' offer to be a part of the group, even going to SmackDown and get a title matchup, or not? We'd find out at the end of the night. JD was back in action with Finn versus the War Raiders. I don't know if you saw the red like patch on JD's back and made me worried. Penta cost him it. Lynch admitted it was her who attacked Bailey. There you go, Jack. See, you're upset. Lynch and they attacked Bailey. Bailey's got a storyline when she gets back.
Look at how cheaply done that was. We're running Naomi J 2.0, but just a cheapened version. It was just it was me sort of moment. Like I was sort of waiting for Becky to say that she had done it for Charlotte or something like that. I don't know. It was just one of those things where I'm like, okay, and that makes sense as well. Yeah, it makes total sense for Becky to come back and take out Bailey for God knows what reason. Like, it's just, yeah, I don't know. This whole promo was an eye roll for me.
As Monty mentioned, Rusev gave a video package laying out his motivation for his return to fix the arrogant, like he fixed himself during his exile from WWE. Back in the arena, Stephanie McCur continued a credible run, beating Ivy Nile. Excuse me. And despite what we talked about, Sami Zayn with the plea, he did reject it, and he had to face the man who beat him for the Intercontinental Championship back at SummerSlam from Breaker, and Braun speared the shit out of him. Rollins was frustrated and angry and delivered a stomp to Zayn as the show went off the air. And then Friday before SmackDown, and this has happened past few years now, we really shouldn't be surprised, but there were WWE releases. The full list of workers let go is as follows: Braun Strowman, Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, Eddie Thorpe, Riley Osborne, Jakara Jackson, Wolfgang, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, thus ending as Gallus, as we know, and of course Wolfgang, with Aura Mensa and Javier Barnell. There is a lot of names that I've got a personal attachment to, even through NXT or even NXT UK days. And I'm sure everybody has got an opinion on this. Monty, I'll start with you. I mean, what are your thoughts on these releases? Of course, the biggest name was Braun Strowman. I mean, what are your thoughts though, man?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like when I first seen it and I saw it, that's why when I sent it to you, I was like, that time of year again. I didn't want to come off as cold, but it's like you mentioned, James. At this point, it's become one of those unfortunate routines. And today now people Meltzer or whoever trying to give reasonings behind it, and it just, to be honest, it don't really matter to me why people rationalize cutting and firing people. It was interesting, Jay. I don't know if you saw this, but like days before this, it was office cuts, and I kind of knew when I saw more people that work in the WWE headquarters office starting to be fired. Then I was like, oh, okay, talent is probably next, unfortunately, because that's usually how it goes. So, it's just one of those things, man, where uh, it's one of those things that has unfortunately become normalized when it comes to following WWE. And it's I don't know, man. It's a lot of people like you mentioned on that list. When it comes to like a Jakar Jackson or Oro Mensa, not only just from like metaphor their connection together in their faction, but just when it comes to Jakar, I thought she was getting better. and I thought that was the whole point of NXT. I know Cora Jade had injuries, but Cora Jade is one of the most popular women down in NXT. Even with the Gigi Dolan and the stuff she's been doing, she literally was just number one contender for the women's tag championship with Tatum. Shotzi sucks, and like I was wondering why her push kept stopping and starting. But that was one of the ones. Even in Braun Strowman, I'm not saying I saw it coming, but I get it. But at the same time, it sucks because Braun Strowman is the big reason why I feel like people view Bronson Reed higher, and the reason why Jacob Fatu is now the main monster pretty much of WWE. He worked his ass off to help get Jacob over. He did whatever they asked him to do, and then you just kind of ship him off. So it sucks. I mean, even Eddie Thorpe. I like Eddie Thorpe from the New Japan days. So I'm kind of happy to see him back available to go do his thing on the Indies, but at the same time, it sucks because I thought he had potential too. For how do you think I feel as a Trick Williams fan, James? All that time I'm watching watching Trick Williams have to deal with Eddie Thorpe, and then Eddie Thorpe is gone. It sucks, man. It's very frustrating to see so much talent. Don't even get me started on the Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai. Just don't get me started on the women's division.
No, I'm gonna let Jaxie take that one.
Yeah,
With,
don't even get
I
me
know.
started on that. So, yeah, I mean, Gallus, like you mentioned, the NXT UK guys that you kind of introduced me to, it kind of sucks, but I love Gallus. But once they never got called up, I was kind of waiting. Like when they're gonna get cut eventually. It sucks because I thought Gallus was a team that had a chance to be on the main roster someday, but it just wasn't meant to be. So yeah, man, it's frustrating. It really is frustrating when you see so much talent with potential, young, either whether they're older and all of that or not. It just sucks. And only thing that's great to me about it is they only got 30 days to have to wait off. So it's not the 90-day thing like it used to be. So it's 30 days. So next month, some of these people will be right back working. And whether it's AEW, whether it's Impact, whether it's the many different indie organizations in America or outside of America, uh, I'm excited that wrestling is still in such a healthy place right now that all of these talent, if they choose to do so, can pick themselves up and continue their career.
Yeah, without doubt. So, Jaxie, I know you wanted to mention obviously Shayna Baszler, but also with Dakota Kai as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with a lot of, the facts and the statements that Monty has said about these cuts already. But I do feel extremely bittersweet to see, the likes of both Shayna and Dakota go before they really had a chance to shine. I feel like, under Vince's regime, they were severely pushed aside. And the sort of level of work that Sheena was doing when she first was called up from NXT, like I'm never gonna forget like the success that she brought to the Elimination Chamber and how you actually put someone over as a beast and someone who cannot be like beaten, like someone formidable, and how much they managed to actually drain her down as a wrestler, like was just disappointing. From Dakota's point of view, I think that it's been a long time coming that where she really deserved some sort of title run, whether it was with the tag belts or whether or not it was a singles belt. And I think the women's intercontinental title belt easily should have gone to Dakota. I think, and this is not putting disrespect on Lyra as a wrestler, but I think in terms of the amount of work that's been put in, especially on the main roster, especially everything Dakota has done with damage control and sort of helping carry it, even as just a mouthpiece during her injuries. When she was really representing sort of the Kabuki Warriors and just a lot of the work done. To see like her be let go before she's really been given a chance at a singles run is very disappointing. But as Monty has rightly pointed out, I have no doubt that a lot of these talents that have been released will get scooped up. There is a lot of talent here that I am shocked to all be seeing go already, especially when they've been featured in sort of main matches. Monty brought up Gigi Dolan, and the fact that wasn't it like not last week that she was in like a title match for the tag titles, and then all of a sudden you're like letting her go. Just is baffling. And questioning as to why making these decisions now. But I don't know. I suppose, I don't work for creative, so all I can say is like I clearly have an issue with some of these firings. And it's just sad to hear. But hopefully we'll see them come pop up in other promotions.
Yeah, without a doubt. On to SmackDown. Priest versus LA Knight was interrupted by Fatu and Solo. Solo's as big a fan of McIntyre as I am, as he suggested Drew, who rightly won last week, gets added to the Fatal 4-Way. As we spoke about, Zelina Vega beat Piper Niven. Randy Orton promo that kind of went nowhere. Ray Phoenix beat Santo Espa in a banger, and like we talk about that main event as well. And if the rumours are true, then SmackDown will go 2 hours in June, which I think is a good thing. Right, before we get to the WNR quiz, Gina, sorry, is there anything you want to mention about those releases that we had as well?
No, I'm gutted for them all, and I wish them all the best in what they move on to next. And I'm sure we will still see and hear from them. But yeah, again, I am really gutted. I was really shocked at Braun Strowman, and again, Dakota. I love her. I actually thought she was going to hold one of the, women's belts, as in the international or US belt. I thought she was going for that, and she would hold it soon enough. So that really did surprise me. But no, I wish them all the best.
Without a doubt. Right, so we move on to WNR quiz. This is a little bit different. We'll see how it goes. And also, we're going to have a look at the past, and hopefully everybody can remember what we did. And the first question for you, Jaxie, was when was your first show? Do you remember? I want the number and the event
Um,
and the
what
date.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was Hell in a Cell. And I want to say it was 2020. Hell in a Cell, isn't that normally in like October? Because it's just before War Games, isn't it? So I want to say maybe
Mhm.
October.
Well, it was. I mean, you're close. You're close,
Am
but
I?
yeah,
Was
it
it
was actually.
September?
It was September 30th,
September. Oh, end of September. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and
And
it
was it
was
Hell in a
night.
Cell?
It was Nighted Champions.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. Ah. Oh,
WNR 310. God,
okay. Well, I
oh
was
boy,
close. Hell in a
you
Cell was
were.
immediately after that now.
Yeah. That's the next
But
show we did. Monty, what about you? When was your first show?
Uh, Halloween Havoc, I believe. NXT. I guess that's what that'd be definitely 300 something. I think 350, 312, 315, 315. Probably. I think.
Fuck, you're close. You are close, man. It was a 311, WNR 311.
The one right before Halloween Havoc.
What I find hilarious is that it was Jaxie and a week later it was you for the first time ever. Like, I just how it worked out, and then we were like, yeah, no, this will work. But it wasn't Havoc; it was Takeover 31.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, 5th October 2020. You're right, Gina. Yours was the 13th of November 2021, the WNR 392. But was it AEW or WWE when
Oh,
we
that's out of
reviewed Full
order.
Gear, Gina?
You're out of order. It was AEW.
Yes, it was AEW. Well done,
Yeah.
Gina. Yeah, first point for Gina. Well done. I'm surprised the other guys didn't get it, but what can we say?
To be honest,
Uh,
I wouldn't have known the date. I would have just known that it would have been 2021 or 2020. I couldn't
A lot
remember.
can happen in
So.
5 years, though.
oh,
Come
you've
on.
you've got the point. You've got the point. Right.
Yeah.
Second question, Jaxie. We did a couple of Hell in a Cell podcasts with which other podcast? Do you remember?
no.
It was Select Match Podcast.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was. I
yeah,
knew that. I was testing you.
yeah. Unfortunately, no point. No point there. Monty, which other American did we work with for nearly a year on the WNR?
I don't remember his name, but he's from New York.
I can't give you that. It was Henry from the Chokeslam report.
Yeah, okay, I remember his
Yeah,
name.
no,
He's
no,
in
it's
New
tough.
York.
It's tough. Gina, your question. What was the name of your sister that we did a podcast with?
Wow.
Tough,
Jatsy.
tough. No, yeah.
We did a podcast with my younger sister Shay.
Nope. Well,
Yes,
you got
we
it
did.
wrong.
There you
When?
go.
Yep, you got it
When?
wrong.
When we went
Yeah.
to the promotion,
Oh yes, okay.
yeah, the
Yeah.
independent emotion promotion. Was
I
it here?
forgot. I
Yeah.
forgot she was there. She's so
Yeah.
short. She's easily forgetful.
She's easily forgotten.
No,
Gina,
Sydney's a
Gina's
great
doing
right
really
now.
well at the moment. How's Gina doing so well? Like, I just don't
City's
know.
like, guys.
You're literally asking her all of the most
You
basic
asked
and
her,
you like
you
Calm
asked
down,
gave her
her,
Jackson.
the
Calm down.
date.
right,
You
Calm
gave
you
her
down.
asked her
the
who was
date
her sister.
of her the
Is
show
this
and
AEW or
everything.
WWE? And you asking us who
In
we
it.
remember.
Monty,
Seriously.
stop being
Okay.
This
bitter.
bitch is
How
a
about you
mess.
two
Wow.
shut up and just
Wow.
answer your questions right, huh?
Wow.
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 Like, make Gina
Favoritism.
remember something then, and then
In
maybe
it,
we will.
Monty.
Yeah, maybe.
Wow, I didn't think this would go this way. Actually, I did. That's why I did it for. But that's not really it. That's not the quiz, right? The quiz, the quiz is really just 10 questions from each year that we have done the WNR podcast. All right, so this would be quite easy. Maybe
Oh,
a
God.
couple more extra questions. We start in 2015. No, these are really fucking like, come on. Which 2015? Which legendary match set the blueprint for the women's division and women's wrestling in 2015?
Is that Sasha and Bailey?
Or
That was
Sasha and
Sasha.
Charlotte in the Iron Woman match?
You know, it was Sasha and
So,
Bailey
Sasha and
at
Bailey
take.
in the Sasha and Bailey. I said that.
No, I'm gonna give it to you. Fucking hell,
Oh,
Jesus
oh.
Christ! Wow, yeah, Takeover Brooklyn. All right,
Yeah,
one of the
that
events.
one.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that one.
I was brought up on Brian Panty's matches and stuff like this, and then I saw Banks and
Same.
Bailey at Takeover, and I thought, right, that is where wrestling will go, and it actually did as well. 2016 saw the Cruiserweight Classic. I don't know if any of you can remember the CWC, and can any of you name me? Well, I was going to say 4 semi-finalists, or literally anybody else that was in that tournament. A point for a wrestler.
TJP,
TJP was in it, yeah.
Kota Ibushi. Was he in the
Yeah.
final?
Ricochet.
Ricochet weren't in it.
Cedric Alexander, did he make it to the
He
final?
was in the tournament. Yep.
He didn't. Okay. Zach was in it, but I don't know if he made it that far.
Zach was my pick and made it to the semis.
Okay, so Zack Sabre Jr. Yeah,
So Zack Sabre Jr., TJP, Ibushi, and there's one
Who was
more
left?
that we might not get.
It's not No Am Dar, is it? It ain't Supernova.
No, but Dar was in the tournament as well.
Yeah.
Oh wait, is it what's his name in NXT now? Lexus King.
No, it was.
Brian
And again,
Kendrick?
this
No.
it was Grand Metallic.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Grand Metal
yeah,
League. Yeah.
And incredibly,
The
yes,
Golden Mask.
This was a WWE event as well that we had. All offered contracts, and like I said, you can see the choices that was made. 2017 was the Mae Young Classic, and this is quite an easy question. The first Mae Young Classic, I just want finalists and winner, please. So, what was the final of the very first Mae Young Classic, and who won?
I didn't start watching it like wrestling properly until like the women's Royal Rumble. So I
I'll
don't
give you a
think
clue, Jaxie. You've just spoken about her. She's just been released. She was
Dakota
in the final.
Kai.
No, no.
Oh,
Shayna.
Shayna.
Kyrie.
What?
Shayna and Kari.
Was EO part of the May?
Kyrie Sane. Kyrie Sane.
Oh,
Kari
Kyrie.
Sane and Baszler was the first final. But 2018 Mae Young Classic, same question. I just heard you say it.
EO.
EO. And who did she beat? And she is a women's champion now.
Tiffany.
No,
No.
not in WWE.
Tony Storm.
Yeah, Tony Storm. Yeah, there we
Ah,
go.
there you go.
Nice point. Right, so 2019 was the debut of AEW, but what was their first pay-per-view and what was the main event? And we're not talking about All In. So what was their first show and what was the main event of that?
Was it Double or Nothing?
It was Double or Nothing. Yep.
The main event.
Well, it's a tough main
Was it
event.
Hangman Page and Kenny Omega?
No, but Kenny Omega was involved, and I think
Kenny
he
Omega, John
won.
Moxley,
No, I think Omega won the world title at this event.
not against Mox.
Wait, it
Not
wasn't.
against Mox.
Jericho.
Jericho said,
Oh,
Gina, innit?
yeah. Wait, because that's when Mox turns up at that event, isn't it?
Yeah, Mox turns out and
Yeah, he
he's on
turned
the
up at
poker
the
chip, isn't
end.
he, at the end? Yeah.
Yeah, and cheap shotted Kenny. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Chris Jericho was he was the first one, eh?
Yeah,
Champ.
he beat Paige, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I was thinking of. First of all, was Paige's match.
Yeah, bring back all these memories though, isn't it? It's good. Also WWE aired on Fox for the first time. 2020, COVID took over and the WNR changed for the better. WrestleMania wasn't in front of a crowd, but Wrestle Kingdom was. Monty, do you know the main event of both nights of Wrestle Kingdom back in 2020?
Hell no.
Wait, was one of them like
no.
Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega?
No, but
No,
they
they
are.
never fought there.
If you think of
For in the main
just
event anyway.
in huge, main event New Japan wrestlers who was held.
Jay White,
Uh,
wasn't it Jay White? I don't think it. No,
Right, the
Jay
first
White
night,
Okada.
the Okada's there. So the first night was Ibushi versus Okada,
Okada and Naito.
Brucey, yeah.
and night two was
Naito,
Naito.
and Naito.
Yeah,
Naito
Naito versus
Okada, right?
Okada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he walked
Um,
out as double champ, and the pandemic ruined my man's real. You piece of shit, John. What the hell you asked me that? The reason why I
well,
don't
hey,
remember.
gonna get worse. Gonna get worse. The last episode of Dynamite in 2020 was one of the best wrestling shows I've ever watched. But what was the heartbreaking reason the show is remembered? So last Dynamite, why was it so?
Brody
Brody
Lee.
Lee.
Brody Lee, yeah. It was
Yeah.
the Brody Lee passing.
Mhm.
2021. This is so easy. Who returned to wrestling on the debut episode of Rampage?
So
In
easy, like
Chicago.
John
In
CM
Chicago.
Punk. Oh, CM Punk.
Yeah, I think we all got that.
So easy.
2022 was NXT UK's last event. It was a Worlds Collide show. Who did Mandy Rose beat to unify the women's
Hey,
titles?
man, we don't gotta talk about this, bro.
Who did she beat?
What? Why does it? Why is it? I didn't even know that was a thing. So I don't know.
Bro.
Jamie Hayter.
I wish. James, come on, man. Do we got? Hey, Lord, come on, man.
Say her name.
Why, dog?
Good. We'll move on to the next bit quite nicely.
She beat somebody she ain't had no business beating, guys. Who just retired.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. She beat.
Make us like more.
Oh, I don't know who.
Miko-
I don't know.
Mako Satomura, the final boss.
Miko
The original
Satomura.
final boss.
What? Mandy Rose beat her?
Yeah.
Hey, that's my point. That's why I don't want
Are
to talk
you
about it. Let's
fucking
move
kidding
on.
me? Well,
Can we
this is
move
why I never
on?
watched it then, clearly, because that's just bullshit.
As he just said, her illustrious 30-year career, she has hung up her boots. The career-defining final victory. She teamed with 20-year-old protege Manami to defeat Aya Kong and current Sonata Girls champion Chirihiro Hashimoto. Finished game when Satomura delivered her signature Scorpio Rising kick to Kong, securing a victory in a match loaded with emotion and historical significance. There were so many people pay tribute when you talk about people like Oscar, Ineo, Sky, but across the world. And Monty, this was a legendary career, and again, it never really worked out in WWE. She put Mandy Rose over, But again, it is nice to have a look back at the career that she had because she was so successful and just, yeah, like I said, just changed the game.
Yeah, I mean, I purged that last part out of my mind. That never happened. But everything else though, fighting Roxanne and popping up and doing the other stuff that she would do. I always wanted her to do more, but to be honest, I'm not really surprised. I mean, she's you literally can look it up. She was one of the only women you could see wrestling back in the day in WCW. WCW didn't really do women's wrestling any better than Vince did at the time, really, to be honest. So, but she was there and she was competitive, and that's how long she's been doing this. So, uh, you know, uh, it's one of them situations where it was like, again, it's one of those things I like to say that in Japan they really do retirements really well, and for Mako Satomura to be the legend she is, to inspire so many. There's not a Joshi wrestler in the world who was not inspired by her. But it's not just that. Like she was so big, she inspired women in general for so long. And like you said, to kind of like you said, James, you grew up on. We both grew up with bra and panties. Well, she was before that era and lasted a long time after that era. So she was able to see versions of women's wrestling and details about women's wrestling that we can't even dream of. So she's gonna do great though. She's still gonna be teaching and passing on her knowledge to new women's wrestlers in Japan. So, but yeah, man, it was one of them things where I kind of wish. It's one of the things you wish her career started like 10 years later, so she could really uh, get a fair run in this era with women's wrestling being so prominent and taken seriously around the world.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, what a career that she has had. Weirdly enough, the NXT versus NXT UK unification match for the men was Bron Breakker versus Tyler Bate, which seems like
Yep.
a complete mismatch right now. Pretty Deadly, yes, boy, were the only successful UK act to win. And Tony Khan also brought Ring of Honor that year. 2023, Vince McMahon, who retired the year previously, returned and then left after Endeavor bought WWE. What was the reported price that Endeavor paid for WWE? Does anybody know? And it's
No
stupid.
clue.
No.
No clue.
A shit ton of money I could care less about. Screw
Yeah.
them.
9.3 billion. 9.3 billion they spent to get
Really?
it. Yep.
Yep.
Oh my God.
But in 2025, Netflix paid WWE 5 billion just to show the rights for 10 years. So, you know, that's the money. Again, we talk about release, we talk about
Oh
Triple H
yay,
saying,
billionaires! Yay!
exactly. Triple H
Yeah.
talking about the press conference making 40 million, over the weekend or over each day, talking about billionaires and then the talent getting released because of budget cuts. But anyway, 2024 Impact became TNA again.
Gotta pay
Okada
for that
left.
theme song.
Yeah. Okada left for New Japan. What was the main event of SummerSlam last year? Does anybody can tell me that last year's SummerSlam? Come on, guys. It's just last year.
Was it Jey Uso?
No.
Mm-mm. Uh,
Wait, Seth.
No, it's only last year, guys. Come on. I didn't have to Google this at all.
you definitely have to Google it.
Yeah, you
I
did.
didn't have a fucking clue. Can
Uh,
we give a clue?
CM Punk.
No, this guy
No,
has just lost the WWE title he defended at the
I
event.
knew it was Cody. I just
Gunther.
trying to think about who he fought.
Gunther.
Oh, Gunther.
No, that was Crown Jewel
Yeah,
or
Gunther
whatever
and
the fucking
Cody.
event was.
Gunther and Cody was in Saudi. Yeah, you're right.
No, last year was the return of Roman Reigns.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and he interfered in the Cody versus or came out after the
Solo,
end. Cody
Oh,
versus
yeah.
Solo.
Yeah.
Solo.
Solo.
God.
Ah, he feels
Um,
so far away from the main event
yeah,
now.
I
Yeah.
That's why that was hard to think about. Poor Solo. I still love you,
know.
Solo. They
Yeah,
2020,
I
don't,
know.
but I do.
2025 saw the end of WWE Network and what the purpose of this podcast was originally about. So suck it, WWE Network. Fuck you. But, we made it this far, and again, no sour grapes anything. Right, everybody, we made it 2025. What was the first show we did this year? This year, guys, come on.
Wrestle
First show of the
Kingdom.
year.
Wrestle Kingdom.
No, it wasn't Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh.
That stupid
Was it
show
our
they're
end
trying
of
to do
year
on the 31st.
predictions?
Oh, okay. Forgot
It
about the
wasn't.
prediction thing.
It was the predictions, but it was an event we also reviewed, a
The
pay per
stupid show
view.
that AEW do at the end of the year, right? I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, Wells
Yeah.
End.
Oh wait, is
Yeah,
it
World's
winter?
End.
What
Yeah, whatever.
winter is coming?
Wells End.
Yeah,
Well
World's
then.
End.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that.
And
Take that show.
scores after that, well, incredibly, you all finish on 5. So you're all winners. Congratulations, guys. Oh, wow. That wasn't a waste of
Yay.
time, but that was good. Could have been worse. So, speaking of AEW, like we said, the Owen Hart tournament has been producing, I think, some of their best stuff. Takeshita beat Brody King in a banger of a quarterfinal, then matched that and more in defeat to Ospreay in the semi-finals. And it seems, Jackson, at the moment, Takeshita can just do no wrong. Amazing match, and we don't normally do this, but he would be my kind of wrestler of the first half of the year so far.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with that. He's been just producing just excellent matches, like across, pay-per-view events, but even just on the main, like sort of dynamites and collisions, like his matches have just been always on point. So right now he's just doing like anything and everything right. He can do no wrong at this point.
Yeah, right there. Adam Page will meet Will Ospreay after beating the debuting Josh Alexander and Ospreay's former best mate, Kyle Fletcher. Monty, again, not much surprise, but with Ospreay, you're always guaranteed that kind of match quality that he always brings as well.
Yeah, I mean, just, like you said, it's just at this point you try not to take him for granted. I mean, to be honest, same thing with like you mentioned with Takeshita and all of that. AEW, in my opinion, has been putting their best foot forward in a lot of ways, but Ospreay is always a highlight. So this was another example of that. Doing what he does best, and you can't really ask for more. I mean, to be honest. So I don't know. Again, I try my best to not sound so jaded when I talk about Osprey, because like I said, I've seen this story. So, uh, but it's always cool to just watch him do what he does, even under the AEW banner now. So yeah, he's consistent. If it's
Yeah.
one thing you can count on is that Will Ospreay is going to deliver, and he still does it somehow. I don't know how he wrestles like that all the time, but he does it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing as well, Gene, is how
Like,
good
like give us Osprey and Takesha like again, because their matches, like those two when they work together, it's just absolute magic.
Yeah, without doubt. But again, as I was saying, I think for this, how good Ospreay and Takeshita in ring, I think Adam Page and the character work that he's doing, and Gina, we've seen that with Page and Ospreay. And again, I'm not sure who I want to win. It might be a head and heart moment between the two. What are your thoughts on that? And what do you think of Josh Alexander as well? Because I'm not sure if you have seen him before, but made his debut as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you guys are saying for sure. I didn't mind this Josh Alexander. He was new for me, so I kind of thought he was being brought in to possibly be squashed. But he might work well with the group that he's gathering with Kyle and Don. But he was interesting. He held his own as well. So for me, I underestimated him, but again, that's because I don't know him. I haven't seen him on other promotions. My sister did tell me straight away who he was and stuff, so I knew he wasn't exactly a noob, just coming up or something. But yeah, I'm interested to see where he's going to go with this group and how that will push him.
Yeah, without doubt. On the women's side, Jamie Hayter beat Billy Starks and Chris Statlander in the semi-finals. On the other side, Athena beat Hardy Cameron and then came up short against Mercedes Moné in a match that should have really been on pay-per-view. And Jaxie, I just don't. Again, they might have bigger plans, but this for me is a pay-per-view fucking matchup. It was great, but I was just like, why have you wasted it here?
Again, yeah, this is another one of those moments that, kind of like what I just explained about the triple threat tag match that happened on just a random show instead of a pay-per-view event. It's like this was definitely pay-per-view worthy. It was a great match and I'm glad we got it. But yeah, again, I feel like this is the example of sleeping on talent. and knowing like when you've got two great women that you could actually be pushing and not just always focusing on the same few women that are on the roster, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Well, another AEW News FTR explained their actions. He said Cope was begging for relevancy. They also had a Stokely as their manager. And Monty, you were saying Cope apparently can't walk for a week after wrestling. Then maybe it's time to give it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, he mentioned it. He said it takes a little while to, in a podcast interview he did, it takes a while before he can, start walking normally after every match. So it's like, it's starting, that sounds like to me, like you just mentioned, James, that your body is telling you that, you probably need to move past this. And I get it. He had the Cinderella comeback. He thought his career was over before, and I get it. But you've already kind of done you've already done it. You've already came back. You've already proven, those original thoughts wrong, and have been able to have a pretty successful run post retirement. So it is, in my opinion, time to start, ticking off that bucket list, and maybe, by the end of the year or maybe by next year, he's done. By the end of his contract, maybe he'll, decide that this is it. But that's just what I think when I hear not walking normally. It's still up to the wrestler, obviously. So we'll see. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't like that. I think I would like I like my legends. I want my legends to be kind of like we saw with Austin, or kind of how you said you were very impressed with how great Brett looked. And I get it because I watched the documentary of his initial the way he looked after that concussion and the way he looked toward the end of his career. People were not sure that Brett was going to be still looking so good, this many years after that. So, yeah, man, I want my legends to be like that. I don't want to have to worry about whether or not Edge later in his life is even walking,
Mm,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I agree with you. And yes, it wouldn't be AEW if we didn't mention Mox. He is the six-man champion now that Pac is injured. Oh, no, wait. Joe Shibata and Will Hobbs beat them to be Trio's champion. Joe sent Mox to sleep, and Joe is getting Mox in an AEW match in a steel cage. I mean, Gina, what were your thoughts on this? Because, again, the Hook obviously out, but Hobbs not a bad replacement, is he?
No, I mean, to be honest, in a way, I was initially disappointed for about 3 seconds. I was disappointed because I was like, oh, I liked Hook being in the mix. I thought he was, the youngster that was kind of being guided. But as soon as I saw that the replacement was Hobbs, I was like, wait, I kind of like this a little bit better. I don't know. I don't know. I think this will work better. And for me, when the match went underway, it just did. It really did work better. Hobbs just has great chemistry with both guys in his team. And I really feel that Hobbs just deserves that push. He's such a great wrestler, a great character. He doesn't even have to do much really, and I'm still intrigued about what is this man about to do in this ring. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely was all for it, and I'm really really happy for the team too because I think it works out well.
Yeah, without doubt. And like I said, AEW's had some good news recently as well. Dynamite has now surpassed WCW Nitro in episodes. They've sold out Grand Slam in Mexico. Collision got its third highest rating ever. And of course, tickets gone on sale for Forbidden Door as well in the UK. So exciting times at this moment for AEW. Of course, we'll check them when we do Double or Nothing. I just want to mention TNA quickly because Chris Bay, as we've mentioned before, did make an appearance. He is up and walking now, which is great to see. Someone that wasn't up and walking was Leon Slater after that dive. If you've not seen it, the Ultimate X match came off and landed hard. Monty, we've kind of had discussion about this, I feel, and I just thought maybe they should have protected him a little bit more. But again, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to call, isn't it? That's why it's called high risk.
Yeah, that's kind of my only thing. I don't have a problem with people thinking that they could have called him better or did a better job. Like that is what it is. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm more so just saying that the whole sentiment that I've seen where it's time to where we're bashing the guys, not you, but like I've seen other wrestlers and other people online bashing the people and trying to make it seem like they purposefully didn't catch the guy. And I personally don't believe that. Like maybe some other people were, standing in better position, or maybe whatever, however you want to look at it, when you look at the spot back, could things have been done better? 100%. But at the same time, Leon was very high. That's not just off the top rope. Like that was very high. And he did a double rotation type of like dive where he kind of adds velocity to his fall as he's falling. So like that's not necessarily an easy thing to do, which it's not necessarily easy to just catch the man falling out of the air perfectly and hope that he's safe. Like, of course, I don't want him to splat and hit the floor like he did, but I've seen Tiffany Stratton do a moonsault, no one there to catch her. I've seen like these things happen when you go up there and you take that chance. That's the only thing that's kind of my point of view. I don't really think anybody needs to be shitted on or like talked about like they should be ashamed of themselves or whatever some people were saying. It's just like, what are you talking about? But anyway, that's my thought process. But I get it. Like you said, it's a high risk in these things. Every time you jump up there, every time you go up there, it's a possibility that that's what can happen. So I kind of mostly like Ricochet had a good reply to me where he was kind of talking about it from both perspectives. So like, and that's kind of like the way I kind of looked at it too. It's just like, yeah, they could have did a better job, but at the same time, he's very high up, and that's part of the risk you take when you jump from something very high. So of course, I wish everything went better in that situation, but you know, from what I understand, it's not as bad as it could have been. So that's great. So that's you just kind of hope we can move on, and next time, AJ Moose, whoever the bigger guys, maybe next time, hopefully they'll be there to be that safety net. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough, man. It's not an easy call in my opinion either. So I get it, but yeah, I'm just more on the side of that's part of the risk you take. Like these things happen,
Yeah.
shit happens. I remember watching Trish Stratus back in like '03, and like she would do her Stratus faction, and like I forgot who it was she was fighting, but they pushed her when she do the Stratus faction. She went over the top rope, and like I watched her land directly right on her face, on outside on the floor, and I was like, that wasn't supposed to happen, right? And like, but the point is, like sometimes shit like that happens. Did they
Yeah.
purposefully push Trish and want her to do that? Who knows for real? But like my point is that accidents in wrestling happen all the time.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of one of those things. I'm always on that side of the game before I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why didn't you
Yeah.
catch
Fuck
him?
these
That's
guys.
me. Right, yeah, that's me. I'm always more on the side of, damn, that's unfortunate before I go saying, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Elsewhere as well, Trick attacked Joe Hendry. The question is, will Trick be the first NXT star to win TNA Gold? We'll talk more about that on our next NXT update. I just want to do this quickly. I'm not going to spend too long on it because, again, I don't want to go as long as we have previous episodes. But May 4th, 2015 was the very first WNR show. So we're exactly 10 years to the date we released the first one. We reviewed Extreme Rules. And I just want to have a look at the card quickly because it's quite interesting. It's been 10 years and it feels like it's a long time away and sometimes it doesn't. But I'll run through the card. Kickoff, Neville beat Barrett. The New Day versus Cesaro and Tyson Kidd for the tag team titles. Dean Ambrose beat Luke Harper in the Chicago Street Fight. Naomi lost to Nikki Bella in the Divas titles match. John Cena beat Rusev in a Russian Chains match. Dolph Ziggler beat Sheamus in a Kiss My Ass match. Roman Reigns beat The Big Show, Last Man Standing, and Randy Orton lost to Seth Rollins with the RKO band in the steel cage match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Now, Jaxie, just listening off those names there, not a lot has really changed. Most of these guys, I think, are still kind of wrestling now. If I look through it, apart from maybe Tyson Kidd,
Yeah,
and again,
did obviously from injury, but like yeah, like even saying that, like my eyebrows shot up when you said Neville, because I kind of forgot Pac was Neville before, like you kind of
yeah.
like don't associate them as being the same sort of person now because of the level of work that he's doing as Pac. Just really does not suit what he brought to the character of Neville.
Well, this is the thing, and again, see the New Day involved in the tag team title match. You know, like 10 years goes by, but some things never change. You know, like the New Day are always there.
Oh, for
Ambrose,
sure. Of course, you can always count on them to be like good champions in some way, shape, or form.
exactly. Mox, of course, or Ambrose over in AEW, big deal. Luke Harper is, I think, the only one not with us anymore, which is a shame. Nikki Bella obviously retired. Naomi back on the scene. John Cena's last match. Rusev has just returned. Sheamus and Ziggler. I mean, Sheamus, I'm not really. Monty, have we heard anything from Sheamus? He's not left, is he? He's just not being used, I suppose. He's
No,
not.
he's not. He's not gone. He's not gone.
Oh,
He wasn't a part of the cuts, So I don't know. Hopefully he'll pop up on our TV screens again at some point. But right now he just seems to be forgotten. Maybe he got an injury and they just haven't reported on it or anything. But I don't even want to assume that. But you remember when Nick Khan said, they don't bench people in
yeah,
WWE.
that's
They
true.
don't bench
That's
people in
true. They
WWE.
don't.
So he say, asshole.
Um, and what I remember, Rollins had cashed in at WrestleMania a month before, so he was champion. Orton had beaten him at Mania, which led to this match. Daniel Bryan had to relinquish the Intercontinental Championship after winning it in a ladder match. He was originally going to face Barrett, and Barrett ended up losing to Neville on the pre-show. I don't know how that works out, but it did. And this was Rusev's only his second loss, but it was in a row after losing at WrestleMania. And this was a carbon copy of Cena's feud with Bray Wyatt, halting momentum of both. And obviously a Divas title with no world champion as well. But again, Gene, it's nice to know, I suppose, that, it could be another 10 years and it still could be Seth Rollins and Randy Orton in the main event.
For sure. I definitely could see that in 10 years' time, those two still going for it. Randy, like, this is my retirement match, even though he had a retirement match 2 years prior. I could totally see that happening.
So that was quite weird to look back on. I know it's 10 years. I've stopped going on about it. We're focused on the next 10 years. We're going to end up speaking about New Japan, though, because I think today, Monty, is a very emotional day because Naito obviously leaving New Japan, but I'm pretty sure today was his last match as well in New Japan officially.
Yep. Yep. And he went out in typical Naito fashion, wrestled his match, and just left. Yeah, wrestled his match and just left. Like it wasn't any like dramatic goodbye. It wasn't anything, and it was like literally the most Naito way you could do it. Like he's always been about tranquilo, which is like relax, or basically he's very very nonchalant. That's always been his gimmick. He's too cool for school, so to speak. And if you think about how somebody like him would retire, it would be that way. He had the match and he kind of just let it go. He wrote in his blog that he had that he don't know. By the way, he don't know if he'll be doing that anymore. So so there you go. Probably gonna start writing blogs too, for that matter. But yeah, he was just like, yeah, I don't know what's next, but I live life to the fullest, so I got no regrets, and he's out of here. So yeah, man, it's like I said, it's the end of an era. He was by far one of their biggest draws, obviously a main eventer, and just one of the greatest of all time. And like I said, when you have Tanahashi on the way out, we talked about Okada gone, and now Naito, probably most likely freelancing or doing his own thing going forward. Even though he said he don't know what that looks like. It's a new era, man. It's time for the new guns and new people to take over. I love Goto, so I'm still, you know, keeping an eye on New Japan just for my love for people like Goto and some of the other characters. But as far as my favorite, someone who was by far my favorite pro wrestler for the longest time, even over the Omegas and the Ospreys and some of the people who probably you could count on to have one of those insane matches. Naito was just by far my favorite when it came to characters, when it comes to wrestling. He is the reason why I subscribe to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I don't have that attachment to really anybody right now. I like a lot of people. I don't have that same attachment to anybody when it comes to New Japan. So now I guess that's kind of what it is. It's like, what can we do? Like, what's next for Hiromu? What's Shingo? What the rest of the crew gonna do? Can some of the newer faces, can they grab me the way a Naito used to? They're gonna need to, because, like I said, that era of that big three of Okada, Tanahashi, and Naito it's done. So we'll see. We'll see.
Um, I just want to say, I'm going to come back to your point in a minute, but if we get to 1,000 followers on YouTube, I know I mentioned it all episode, but I'll sing a song. All right, I'll put it out there. I'm desperate now. We've only got a couple of
God
minutes left.
damn it.
It's not going to happen, Monty. Come on. But one thing I want to ask you, man, and I love this, was Bushi leaving as well. You know, and just I don't know why I loved it so much, but it's sad. But I mean, what a guy, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he literally accepted his contract. He literally accepted that he would come back to New Japan. And then he said, then he talked to Naito or whatever, and he found out that Naito was leaving. Then he was like, oh, okay, well, then if Naito's gone, then I'm gone. Like, think about that. We talking about the wrestling business. Like, we talking about like one of the most selfish and individual. Like this, if it's any time where you do something for your family, do something for you, and people understand it, is in the wrestling business. And for the friendship with them to be that tight to where he's like, oh, okay, well, Naito don't want to stay, then I don't want to stay. Like that is
That's
what I've never
unbelievable.
heard a story like that in my life, but that is legitimately what happened. He accepted his contract and then voided it once he found out they weren't retaining Naito.
Wow. Like I said, we're going more into detail about what it means for like championships and everything like that next time we do a New Japan show, which might be a couple of months away. So, like I said, it's good to just touch base on it now. Obviously, Jeff Cobb is going to leave as well, and Gina. And again, we talk about the releases, you know, but W might have to do that just with the amount of talent, especially when they say they don't all talent. If people like Ricky Starks and like I said, Jeff Cobb and Ethan Page and all these other guys have come in recently, I mean, I suppose you have to do that. Can Jeff Cobb be a success on the main WWE roster?
I mean, it just really depends on what storyline they would look to put him in. If they were looking to put him on just like a singles run, I'm not sure how successful that would be right now, just because of the amount of people who have just come back, who have just debuted, who are waiting for that their time at the top as well. I've actually said to Jaxie a couple of times, if Jeff Cobb came to WWE for some reason, I can just see him tagging with Bronson Reed, for example. But that could be an interesting mix, and maybe they could do something with that. But yeah, I just at this moment in time, I just don't know like if they're gonna put him in just like, straight for the singles run to the main belt or something. I don't know how much space there is for him right now. So
Yeah, without doubt. And finally, and I know we all want to talk about it, Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff are officially back. And this time, they're taking aim at the world of amateur wrestling. Real American Freestyle is going to blend loads of shit together. Bish will deal with backstage, and Terry will be the commissioner. Jaxie, we wondered what it was going. Well, I didn't wonder, but some people did. What it was going to be. I mean, come on, you're in, aren't you? I mean,
Absolutely
Terry,
not.
amateur wrestling. Come on.
With Bischoff and Hogan, two of the
Yeah.
worst mouths in the world of wrestling. No, thank you. Absolutely not. I'm glad I know this now so I can avoid
Mm. Yeah,
because I
that's
really
true.
don't care.
That's true. So that is basically it. I mean, again, we could sit here and talk about kind of what WNR podcast means and what your favorite memories and all that kind of stuff, but we kind of do it every week. When we talk about it. The what I like to feel about the podcast is that it may be someone's first ever show, much like Stan Lee said about comic book. It's always going to be someone's first comic book they pick up. But I always feel, especially if you go back to NXT updates or WWE, you can go back to potentially the very start and follow it the timeline along. Yes, a lot has changed, but for the better. Change sometimes does work. And I'd just like to thank you guys. Like I said, who knows where we're going to be at the 15th, anniversary show, but I just like appreciate you three of you being with me here tonight and for the last basic 5 years, and let's ride this horse until it dies.
It's been fun. And yeah, happy 10 years to you again. It's always been fun to discuss wrestling sort of across the board with fans, but being able to do it on the podcast this way has been even better. So thanks for bringing us together, James. And that is the last compliment you're getting from me.
Yeah, no, I kind of did, didn't I? So that is it. Don't forget, we're across all social media. X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod. James, you can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Jaxie, I'll start with you. Do you want to plug your stuff?
Yeah, you can find me across X, Twitch, Instagram, and even YouTube at Jaxie Scarlett, where I post all of my streams from Twitch.
Without a doubt. And Monty?
At my Monty Pod on Twitter. You can click the link in my bio. Check out my other work, but right now I'm working through tweeting my frustrations out.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining us today. I know you're fucking ill as shit as well. I always appreciate it.
They didn't know that. Damn, James, what's up?
And of course, Gina.
I was going to say, don't expose anything about me.
I wish.
You can find me on Twitch, X, and Instagram at Purple Pain.
Yeah, Double O also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email, doubleupodcast@gmail.com, and YouTube, where the Double Up Podcast have got loads of features. Like we talk about, we've got the short Stone Cold Stone Cold Stunner, the short series. It's been a long night, you know. Dream matchups and a lot of other things there. We really do appreciate your support on YouTube and everywhere else this last 10 years. Otherwise, it would just be me talking into a microphone by myself. And like I said, the team adds to it, but you listening at home, you are the real winners here. And of course, Done Podcast got on YouTube, the same time on SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes. We can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. That is it. Our next episode, we're actually going to have a break. I'm going to give you guys a break, you know, because I'm a nice guy. But we will be back in 2 weeks for Backlash, where I try and arrest the alarming prediction form. You see how I didn't mention anything about predictions this episode as well? Well done, me.
I mean, what predictions would we have done right now if we got Backlash in 2 weeks?
I just didn't mention how bad I was doing. All right. God almighty.
Oh, yeah. Well, and mentioned, you know, the fact that you lost your first ever Mania prediction.
Look, can we just have an anniversary get together without you bringing that up?
I thought we weren't bringing that up. My bad. I got the wrong end of the message.
Fucking hell. Well, until then, I've been James Rowlands, was joined by the fantastically annoying Jaxie Scarlett. No, Jaxie.
As always, it's been a pleasure.
We got a love-hate relationship, you know. I love to hate you. The mind of Monty. Thank you, Monty.
I'm still the greatest predictor of all time. Thanks for bringing it up, Jack. All right.
And of course, my favorite, the genius of Gina. Oh shit, I can't believe I said that. But I think you already know Gina, don't you?
I'm always everyone's favorite.
Yeah,
no,
right.
It's been fun, and I look forward to doing more reviews in the future with you guys.
Without a doubt. And how's my journey been on the WNR for 10 years? Well, I saw the sun begin to dim and felt that when the wind blow cold, a man learns who is there for him when the glitter fades and the walls won't hold. 'Cause from then rubble one remains, can only be what's true. If all was lost is more I gain, 'cause it led me back to you. From now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. From now on, what's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. It starts tonight. Let this promise in me start like an anthem in my heart. From now on, from now on, from now on, yes, and we will come back home again. As you can guess, everybody, yes, we did make it to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I'd like to thank everybody for everything. And for the 10th anniversary show,
Yay.
that is it. We did it, guys. Come
Whoever
on.
you are,
Yeah.
screw you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Screw
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Whoever you are, screw You.
They wanted the song. They
They
wanted
did
the
it
song.
to
They
spite
wanted
you,
the song.
Monty.
They want.
They love the singing. It's worth it. For 10 years, it's been worth it. Oh, God, I'm out of breath now. I need to lay down. Thanks for this, everybody, and bye.